Her hands were still on my hips when I whispered that I loved her. She was on her knees, her tongue a liar and a lover at once. The hotel sheets were soaked in our sweat, her lipstick smeared across my thighs, and my voice was still trembling when she pressed her cheek against my belly and told me, again, "You are the only one." She said it every time she made me come undone. Every time she wrapped her mouth around me like it was a sacred act. She said it in whispers, in tears, in moans that never made sense until now. Because 2 weeks later, I walked into a small church in South Carolina and saw her in a wedding dress, smiling beside a man. Before I get deep into this chaos, I want to say thank you to all of you, my loyal viewers, my subscribers, and my silent watchers. You all have no idea how much your support fuels this channel. To everyone new or returning, if you have not subscribed yet, please take 1 second to hit that red button. It is the only fuel that keeps these stories alive. And please, tell me what you feel in the comments below. This story broke me, and I am curious to know what it will do to you. My name is Caroline Martin. I am 28, born and raised in Ohio, currently living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I studied architecture but ended up working freelance so I could control my own hours, and travel. That is how I met her. Tessa Monroe. 31. A travel nurse. Mixed-race beauty with green eyes and curves like temptation carved into flesh. I met her at a rooftop bar in Miami. I was there to clear my head from a failed situationship. She was sipping tequila like she had no past. We exchanged numbers that night, but she slept in my bed the same evening. No talking. No labels. Just passion. I told myself it was just sex, at first. But she called. And I answered. She flew back into Charlotte 2 weeks later. We spent 3 nights at a quiet Airbnb on the edge of Lake Norman. She cooked barefoot, her shirt oversized, nothing underneath. I watched her dance in the kitchen while the eggs burned. We made love before breakfast. We laughed in between orgasms. She told me she never felt like herself around anyone else. She told me she hated secrets. But there were signs. Tiny, foolish, blinking red signs I chose to ignore. She never let me take pictures of her face. She always turned her phone face down during dinner. She said she loved me, but never stayed the full weekend. Always one excuse: work, emergency, travel shift. One Sunday night, we were in a hotel room off South Boulevard. She had just come out of the shower, towel wrapped low. Her hair still dripping, she dropped the towel and straddled me on the bed. Her body was soft, warm, demanding. I let her take control. She loved that. She said she loved how I submitted to her. I said I loved her. She paused. Her mouth froze against my neck for half a second. Her breath caught. Then she picked up again, faster, harder, as if the moment could be buried under my screams. I remember thinking it was strange, how her eyes avoided mine while she moved. I brushed it off. Until the next day. I had dropped my lip balm in her overnight bag while she was showering. When I opened it, I saw a stack of neatly folded wedding invitations tucked beneath her nurse scrubs. White. Creamy gold font. Her name, Tessa Monroe. I did not see the groom's name. She snatched it so fast it nearly tore. She laughed it off. Said it was her cousin's wedding. Asked why I was being nosy. Said I was acting insecure. I apologized. I even kissed her neck to say sorry. I was so stupidly in love, I kissed the lips that were lying to me. A week later, she flew back out. But something had shifted. She would text slower. Reply later. Our video calls felt forced. That weekend, I could not sleep. I opened her social media, she barely posted. But her cousin tagged her in a post. I clicked it. There it was. A photo of a chapel in Florence, South Carolina. Wedding rehearsal. Bridesmaids. Laughter. A blurry close-up of her hugging a man in a gray suit. My heart froze. I stared at the photo like it would explain itself. My fingers dialed her number. No answer. That is when I packed my bag. I took my car keys. I drove 4 hours to South Carolina. I did not know what I would say. I did not even know what I was doing. I just knew, my body could not sit still while my soul was screaming. The drive to South Carolina felt longer than it was. My fingers gripped the wheel so tight they hurt. My thoughts spiraled, switching between denial and fury. Maybe it was all a misunderstanding. Maybe the man in the photo was her cousin. Maybe she had a twin no one told me about. Or maybe I was about to walk into a truth so ugly that my heart would never beat the same again. I arrived in Florence by early afternoon. It was humid. Small town quiet. The kind of quiet that amplifies your own heartbeat. I had never been there before, but I found the chapel from the tagged photo. It was a modest cream brick church with a white steeple and pink roses lining the walkway. The parking lot was nearly empty except for a few sedans and a florist truck. I parked 2 blocks away. I could not risk her seeing me. I walked slowly, pulling my hoodie up even though the heat made my skin itch. My heartbeat thumped in my ears. I followed the floral delivery men to the back of the chapel. I stood behind a side pillar, almost shaking. Then I saw her. Tessa. Her back was turned. Her hair was tied up in a bun with a few tendrils falling loose. She was holding a clipboard, giving directions to a young woman who looked like a wedding planner. She wore a dusty rose silk dress, one I had never seen before. It hugged her body like satin against honey. She turned slightly. I saw her smile. Then she reached out and touched someone's arm. A man. He was tall, maybe 6 foot, with a neat fade and a soft smile that made my stomach twist. He looked down at her with something too familiar. Something that made my chest ache. Tessa laughed and touched his cheek. Then he kissed her forehead. My knees almost buckled. I had to step back before they saw me. My hand went to my mouth. I felt like I was going to vomit. I leaned against the pillar, trying to keep my breath steady. I stayed there for what felt like forever, hiding, shaking, hurting. It was real. The invitations were not for her cousin. The man in the photo was not her brother. She was marrying him. Tessa was engaged, to a man, and the ceremony was happening tomorrow. She had flown down not just for a family event. She was getting ready to walk down the aisle. She was doing flower arrangements and planning seating charts while my messages sat unanswered. I did not cry. Not then. I felt too sick. Too betrayed. My body refused to process it fully. But I could not leave. Not yet. I followed the planner as she entered the church through a side door. I crept in behind her, staying quiet, my steps light on the old wooden floor. I knew it was stupid, but I needed to see everything. I needed to destroy the fantasy completely. Inside, they were rehearsing. Tessa stood at the altar, facing the man. Bridesmaids stood on one side, groomsmen on the other. I watched from behind a cracked door near the back, hidden in shadows. The minister ran through the steps. Everyone was smiling. Laughing. Tessa giggled when the man leaned in and whispered something. It was a sound I used to know. It used to belong to me. And then she said it. She looked up at him and said, "You are my only one." I felt something break inside me. A clean snap. Not just pain, but rage. It was the same exact sentence she whispered to me while my thighs trembled in her hands. Only one. That was her line. Her lie. Her poison. I walked out of the chapel and got back into my car. But I did not drive away. I parked down the street at a gas station, bought a bottle of water, and sat in my car for hours. I stared at my phone, reading our last texts over and over again. She told me she missed me. She told me she wanted to plan a trip together in September. She said she would fly back to Charlotte soon and spend a full week with me. She even sent me a photo of her bare shoulder in bed just 3 days ago. I wondered, had she sent the same photo to him? Did he know? Did he suspect? Or was I the only fool in the entire story? I checked her socials again. Still private. Still quiet. But the cousins page had gone live. She had posted a group photo from the rehearsal dinner at a nearby restaurant. There Tessa was, again, seated beside him, smiling with a wine glass raised. She looked happy. Relaxed. The picture of a woman in love. I stared until my eyes burned. Then I made a decision. I would not confront her in secret. I would not send her an angry message or block her number. I would walk into that church tomorrow, while she wore her wedding dress. I would look her dead in the eye and give her back the same pain she gave me. And I would do it with the kind of silence that would haunt her forever. I did not sleep the night before the wedding. I sat in the motel room just outside Florence, in silence, my back against the cold wall, the ceiling fan creaking slowly above me. The bottle of cheap white wine I picked up earlier was nearly empty. I stared at my phone, but I did not message her. I wanted her to feel safe in her lie. I wanted her to be fully committed to the fantasy, before I shattered it. By sunrise, I was dressed in all black. A sleeveless dress, low at the neck, tight at the waist, and heels that made each step echo like a threat. I wore red lipstick. The same shade she said she loved on me. The one I wore the night she told me she would never touch anyone else. I arrived at the chapel 15 minutes before the ceremony. I walked past guests as they arrived. No one questioned me. I blended in. I carried a small black purse and a firestorm in my chest. The air inside was heavy with perfume and petals. Everyone was smiling. Cameras clicked. Ushers guided people into pews. I slid into a seat at the very back, near the edge, close enough to escape, close enough to strike. I waited. Then the music began. And she appeared. Tessa. In a white silk gown that shimmered with every step. Her hair curled in soft waves, pinned just right. Her makeup was flawless, natural, soft pinks and shimmering lids. She looked like something out of a dream. She looked like someone I used to know. Her arm was looped through an older man's, I assumed her father. She smiled at the crowd. Her eyes scanned the room, warm and wide. But they did not see me. She did not see me. I sat there frozen, the betrayal crawling like acid under my skin. My throat tightened, but I held back. Not yet. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke of love and truth and forever. I laughed under my breath. A bitter, quiet laugh no one noticed. Then it came, if anyone objects. My heart raced. I stood. Heads turned. Whispers rippled. And then, her eyes found me. Tessa's face changed instantly. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Her mouth opened but no words came out. I did not shout. I did not scream. I walked forward slowly, heels clicking against marble tile, until I stood just 4 feet away from the altar. Her fiancé looked confused. He glanced between us. I reached into my purse, pulled out my phone, and tapped the screen. There it was. A photo. Tessa between my thighs, mouth open, hand gripping my waist. A clear timestamp. 2 weeks ago. I held it up for him to see. He stared. His face went pale. Then I turned to her. You said I was your only one, I said. My voice calm. Sharp. Loud enough for the guests to hear. You said you hated secrets. You said you loved me. And you were eating me out in a hotel room 2 weeks before your wedding. Gasps filled the room. People turned. Phones rose. A woman clutched her pearls like a cliché. Tessa's hands trembled. Her lips parted. But she said nothing. Not to me. Not to him. She looked cornered. Small. Exposed. Her fiancé turned toward her. You cheated, with a woman? He asked. Tessa shook her head. Then nodded. Then cried. It was pathetic. I turned toward the aisle, ready to leave, when her voice broke through the chaos. Caroline, wait. I stopped. I faced her again. And for the first time, I saw real panic in her eyes. Not guilt. Not regret. Panic, the kind that only comes when you realize you just lost something you never deserved. She stepped down from the altar, nearly tripping over her dress. Her tears were real now, streaking her makeup. She reached for my hand. Please, she whispered, let me explain. I pulled away. Explain to him, I said. You already explained everything to me. With your silence. Then I leaned in. I kissed her. Hard. In front of everyone. It was not a kiss of love. It was a kiss of finality. Of exposure. Of revenge. She kissed me back for 1 second, 1 stupid second, before I pulled away. I turned to the crowd and said, this is your bride. Choose your wedding gift wisely. Then I walked out. Outside, the air was sharp and loud. I felt everything at once, pain, victory, betrayal, freedom. My phone buzzed endlessly. Her messages flooded in. But I did not read them. I drove back to Charlotte with the windows down, the wind tearing through my hair like a storm. I played our favorite playlist. I deleted every picture we took. I blocked her number just before she tried to call again. The woman who said I was her only one, was now just someone I used to love. And strangely, I did not cry. Not because I was numb. But because I had already bled every tear in the days before.